Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome into Attacking Third. Countdown is on for the start of the 2025 NWSL season and the moment you've all been waiting for. Attacking Third preseason predictions. Everything from Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, MVP, Golden Boot, and the standings, where the teams will shake out. We've put a lot of research into this. We've dug a little deeper. We may upset some people, but we may also please some people. Stick around. You're absolutely going to want to hear every single bit of this. Plus, LaBonta, Kansas City current midfielder, she is joining the A3 crew, and we have her back. She's on the show, so you're not going to want to hear what she has to say. And I couldn't do this alone. Alongside Darian Jenkins and Jess McDonald, I'm Lisa Carlin. And Jess, we get to kind of give these preseason predictions. It's almost like a broadcaster's preseason for the season when you get to dive into this and see what's to come for the year ahead.
It really is, but what makes it so interesting is there have been so many changes on most of these teams, and I am looking forward to seeing how this season is going to pan out because I think this is going to be one of the most competitive NWSL seasons, and it's a hard prediction, you guys. There's been so many additions, so many changes. I don't know how these teams have been doing throughout preseason, so it's a huge question mark, but I'm super stoked and looking forward to how this season's going to pan out.
Me too. I'm probably going to be wrong about so
Me
many of
too.
these. I usually am. Lisa knows this well on the show. We always do score predictions, and we always do these hella early, and I'm so bad at them, y'all. So don't hold me to it, please. But we're gonna have fun. I'm excited for today. Lisa is usually right on these, I will say. Lisa usually has a really good
Darian,
pulse very, very early on
thank
what's to
you.
come.
I appreciate you saying that. I try to look at the full picture. Sometimes it's so easy when you're doing these predictions to get caught up in the flashy things. I don't know how I did this year because it's so tricky because Jess, as you said, the league is so competitive and it has been and it will always continue to be. But last year we really saw separation from the top four teams, then the next probably 6 or 7 teams that were all in contention, and then the bottom group. I mean, when you think about point wise, Houston at 20 points to close out the 14th place and Orlando at 60 points. Like Houston was never going to beat Orlando. They were never going to contend at the top last year. I'm not sure what's going to happen this year because of all the offseason changes. I still think we'll have the separation that we saw last year from some of the top teams, it kind of separating themselves and the cream rising to the top as the season goes. But that's the beauty of this, kind of guessing, throwing darts at the dartboard while also keeping receipts, because we talked about maybe having some bets on the line and a little bit of competition. I mean, friendly competition is always good for the soul. It's good for us. It's good too because we got other people in the mix, right? That are joining us, and Christine Cupo's picks, Sandra Herrera's picks. There's a lot on the line, D. It's a lot this year for
So
us.
online, Lisa does follow through on her bets, everybody. She did Venmo me money for a martini, even
I
though I
owe you
forgot the
money,
bet.
actually.
I did send it back because I thought I was wrong because I forgot what the bet was about. Clearly,
Yeah.
I'm on the losing side. Don't bet with me unless, well, actually do, because I'll probably send you money because I'll forget what it's about. But Lisa is true to her word, so she's a good person to make bets with. But I'm excited. We need to be creative and throw something on the line.
Ooh, yeah, something worth enough. Let us know,
Yes.
guys, listening, or if you're with us on YouTube. Hey, hi, what's up? Hello. Thanks for hanging with us. What should we bet this year for who gets it right? Who gets the most picks right? Who makes it into the postseason? Give us something to put on the line for our attacking third bets. As we get into this NWSL season, a quick little housekeeping note. We're going live Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11 a.m. right here live on YouTube. Subscribe so you'll get alerts when we go live. And then immediately following Sunday night NWSL matches, we are live on YouTube. So you can join us immediately following the matches. It starts this Sunday, probably around 8 p.m. As soon as the final whistle blows, we'll be here on YouTube and listening as a pod. Anywhere you get your pods, you can come hang with us. All right, Jess D, prediction time. Let's dive into it. We're going to start with the positional awards this year in the NWSL. So that is goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, and coach of the year. Now, last year, we're going to start with the goalkeeper. Last year, it was Gotham FC's and Katrin Berger. This year, the NWSL goalkeeper pool is pretty similar to what we saw last year. Perhaps some other players getting time and minutes that we haven't seen so much before. And key note right here, Jess, is that the U.S. women's national team currently does not have a number one goalkeeping. So for some of those players who have been called into camp, who could potentially be in that U.S. women's national team goalkeeper pool, they have everything to play for. Does that play a factor into who could win goalkeeper of the year at the end of it?
It definitely does. And with Alyssa Nair retiring from the international position for the USA team, those are really hard shoes to fill. I mean, we're talking about one of the best goalkeepers to ever do it, who followed in Hope Solo's footsteps. And it's like, okay, how do I follow up on this? And this is where goalkeepers need to show up and show out, especially before Emma Hayes makes her decision to put together a World Cup team. And so it's definitely going to be interesting. Obviously, Casey Murphy's got to be on her radar. We'll see how Jane Campbell does. Hopefully Houston's a little bit better defensively to help her out too. But it's definitely going to be interesting. I think it's going to be really tight, and it's a really hard decision to obviously make, especially for Emma Hayes. She has to see how this NWSL season is going to pan out for goalkeepers, because that's a very difficult decision, or very difficult position to choose a player for, because there's only one. It's not like it's a defender where, you choose from four and then you're able to add more into the roster. Goalkeepers are a really tough one to be able to stand out. And so I think it's going to be interesting this season who's going to be able to do so.
Well, who do you think, Jess?
Who do you think? Who's your 2025 pick?
I know I'm sweating, but I will have to say, since she's only able to focus on club, if we're strictly talking about NWSL goalkeeper of the year, I'm going to Alyssa Nair.
Oh, shit. The legend.
Uncle Alyssa. Yeah.
Stack them up.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm confident.
I do really like that. Lisa, as far as who you're saying I think could fill into the U.S. women's national team, I keep saying it, Aubrey Kingsbury. Give her a chance. She deserves it. She has the playing out of the back ability. You've seen it with Spirit. She's a legend at penalties, proven over and over and over again. Give this girl another chance. I don't know why she was written off the last 2 years. I think give her a big moment to go in and play maybe these friendlies that are coming up. And I think that she'll prove that she deserves to be there. I think that's probably the most open position on the women's national team. Do I think she will get goalkeeper of the year in NWSL? I do not. I don't know. Lisa, giving you credit again. I don't know. Give Lisa love today. I think Washington Spirit are going to be formidable this season, especially after watching them against the Pride in the Challenge Cup. They just look so strong. And for them to start off the season like that with not their usual starters and having that much chemistry going into the second half after just 45 minutes, they're going to be a tough team to beat. So I don't know if Aubrey Kingsbury will be tested as much as I want to see her get tested to be goalkeeper of the year. I do think Kaylin Sheridan will, though. San Diego, I don't think are going to be the best team this coming season. I know we're going to talk about that later on, but they lost some really big center backs in Germa and Dahlkemper. New coach, a lot of new relationships to build. I think Kaylin Sheridan is going to have her hands really busy this season, and she is such a high-quality goalkeeper. She's going to be up for the challenge. So to me, she's going to be how Jane Campbell has always been for Houston, where she's the saving grace of this team. I think Kaylin Sheridan is going to be that and is going to get goalkeeper of the year.
No doubt Sheridan is going to have to stand on her head this year defensively. But does a high number of saves, a high number of shots being thrown at you, transition to goalkeeper of the year if San Diego, say, doesn't make the postseason?
How many times has Jane Campbell won goalkeeper of the year?
I don't know.
I'm actually looking right now because
that's a good question.
Houston has done poorly, and Jane Campbell has won goalkeeper of the year because she has kept them. If there was relegation in the league, Houston would be in and out, to be quite frank, because of their performances, their inconsistencies. But because she's been so good, she is the one that wins goalkeeper of the year.
2023.
Just 2023. But I think she's been a contender 2 or 3 years for Goalkeeper of the Year because she gets tested so much.
Yeah, she's always been a contender, and that year Houston, they didn't make the postseason, but 2023 was one of the most competitive years in the NWSL because we still had 12 teams. It was okay.
Decision day.
Yeah, decision day. Hey, it's back. It's
back. We're back.
Goalkeeper of the Year to me is a player that your team has to be winning. Your team has to be contributing, and you have to be formidable in clutch moments. Utah Royals' Mandy Hott is just coming off a national team call-up with the U.S. women's national team. So she has the idea that, oh, they're looking at me. Now is a chance for me to take over the number one goalkeeping spot or be on the roster. If someone else takes over that number one spot, I could be the number two. She's so good out of the back with her feet. She can combine. I think she is going to lead a lot of the way that Utah want to build when they have the ball and starting their attack. Hott for me is going to have a great year in the NWSL.
I like that. I will give you credit and say that Hott, I think, is a player we see grow a ton from
Mandy McGlynn.
Sorry, McGlynn.
I said Hott too.
I know. I was following your lead.
Sorry.
It's okay. The name changes are so hard to follow. There's so many to just balance. It's okay. We're human. It happens. Mandy McGlynn is one of the keepers that I think year over year, honestly, every few games we see another element added to her level and the way she can play out her vision, her honestly boldness coming out of the back. I think we've seen her become a bulldog where she's very aggressive off of her line. She's playing that sort of keeper sweeper role. So I really like that shout as well. I think this last camp with the U.S. Women's National Team showed where she has to grow a bit more. There's also a lot of nerves, and maybe we'll see that calm down, but I like that shout. These were all really good.
Okay, moving up the pitch, Defender of the Year for NWSL. I think one of the biggest questions of a Defender of the Year is, what are the qualities that make up a defender? Last year, it was Emily Sams at Orlando Pride. I think having a defensively sound team that doesn't give up a lot of chances, so it's not necessarily fewest amount of goals against, but they have to not concede because that's where it starts with the defensive end and also someone that plays out of the back. This one did not come easily to me. Defender of the Year is something that I put a lot of stock into that for a player. I am so excited to see Rafaeli return with Orlando. She's my Defender of the Year.
That was mine as well. That Rafaeli was mine as well, especially after watching her in the Challenge Cup. I was like, oh, this is such a different level of a defender where you can truly rely on their vision, their ability to play these very decisive line-breaking balls that can feed through to Marta, to Barbara Banda, Ali Watt. She has impeccable vision. Hell, she's scoring goals back into the Orlando Pride. And just showing that she's a force to be reckoned with. And I think a true leader. I think even watching her play, the way that she's so suave on the ball, her movement, the way she's able to bounce passes. Orlando was already solid defensively, but her being there brought even more confidence and fluidity to how that team can play and depth. So if she can stay healthy, to me, that is a player that if you're younger and you're looking at what a modern center back is like and how you should develop your game, watch Rafaeli and the way that she moves the ball and her vision in the game.
Yeah, her distribution is nuts and so impressive on the ball. I mean, just bringing that Brazilian flair onto the pitch from a defensive standpoint is just absolutely amazing and nothing short of amazing to see. But I will have to go with someone who has less experience, who has showed up with her versatility, and I'll have to go with Tara McKeown. She was great last year for Washington Spirit. She scored some goals. Obviously, she's a natural striker, but to be able to go back into the center back position, she's been very impressive to watch. And I'm biased just because she was a striker and a natural striker, but just for her to be able to get her first cap with the U.S. team and She Believes Cup, she played amazing, made a couple mistakes, but obviously you grow in that at the international level. But I think she's moving forward when it comes to comfortability in that center back position, and I think Bernal is going to be great right next to her and helping her out in that position. So Tara McKeown is my pick for Defender Player of the Year.
Jess, I like that. Lisa, I for sure thought you were going to say McKeown.
No, I don't. I
would have bet money that's who you were going to say.
My knowledge and my view of Mickey Owen has shifted after the U.S. Women's National Team camp. I think that she has a lot of potential, and I like the steps and the direction that she's going in, but she's not ready for the national team by any means. And so to me, that's why she fell out of Defender of the Year picture, because it has to be someone that, if they're an American, that can step in to that type of pressure cooker situation. I think she could be a candidate at the end of the year in this category. I think she should still get U.S. time in those big camps, or maybe a futures camp at time, like having depth at that center back position. She's just too inconsistent in that center back role. And it's no fault against her. She's new to that position. She used to be a forward.
It's impressive.
How long is she not new anymore? How long is, okay, you've had time to grow into this and learn and played enough games against very heavy competition?
So Mickey Owen has played in the center back position for 3 years at Washington. One of those alongside Sam Staub. So Mickey Owen wasn't the leader. The next year, Mickey Owen was the leader. She was the leader of the center back last year, alongside another player in Esme Morgan, who was brand new to the league, that she had to kind of carry along with her and teach her the ropes. So she didn't have time to self-reflect and personal development in that position. If she had 2 years, 3 years next to Sam Staub, 3 years with a veteran where you are not the sole defender, I would say 3 years, but she didn't. So I think that slowed her progression, Dee, a little.
Okay. I'll say, I agree. I think after the national team camp and maybe just seeing some of the same mistakes I've seen from her. I mean, I would be terrible in center back position, not critiquing that at all. It's super difficult, especially against forwards of the NWSL. But yeah, there does need to be a lot of growth in my opinion, for that to be true.
Midfielder of the Year, moving up the pitch. We saw it be awarded for the first time ever last year to Washington Spirit rookie Croy Bethune. Now you could go attacking, you could go defensive D. It really depends, but depends on what. And could we see a repeat? Where are you going with your Midfielder of the Year?
We could see a repeat, but I'm going to say no. I am going to give some love to Bay FC's Tess Bodie. She plays on the front line sometimes, but I love her in the 10 position. I think that is her strongest position for Bay. That's where she's most effective. Last year, we saw her just light that team on fire. She became the heartbeat for Bay FC and Albertine Montoya's team. And watching her develop and watching her build those relationships with Kunda Nanji and Oshuala, Rachel Hill, I think this is going to be a really, really exciting year. I mean, you guys both know anytime we talk to coaches that were playing against Bay said that they had to shut down Tess Bodie. If we shut down Tess Bodie, we think that that's going to kill their attack. They still couldn't really shut her down. She created a lot of opportunities. So I'm going to give her some love and her flowers. I don't know if I'm going to be right. Let's see if she gets a lot of stats. I know that that's really what it comes down to. But she's one of the best midfielders in the league and super, super effective for Bay. So shout out Tess Bodie.
Interesting. You think it comes down to stats for a midfielder role?
I mean, it does. How effective are you? Even if it's defensively, how are you recovering? Are you winning headers? How's your battling? How many passes are you picking up? If it's in the attack, like Croy Bethune, she didn't really have to defend that much last year.
True.
I mean, she was on every single counterattack, even if whether she's dribbling or she's passing it.
True. So this is a good point. I mean, she did have all those assists. So, okay, Darian, you will be diving into the defensive stats this year of all the midfielders. Sunday night, I'm going to be tuning in to that. Jess, which one do you put more stock in for your midfielder of the year, defensively or attacking wise? And who is your midfielder of the year?
Oh, well, the striker in me, obviously I'm going to go with a 10 here because I want to see what they can do in the final third. obviously it's really important for them to get behind the ball and defend. That's obviously a key piece to it. But, I'm gonna look at the player who's on the ball and how crafty that they can be in the final third, and who I saw last season, towards the end of the season after she came back from injury, who was just on fuego for her club, who needed her the most at such a critical time in their season, was Jaden Shaw. I think that she is the perfect fit for a coach like Sean Nahas. She's the perfect fit for a partnership with Ashley Sanchez, because in that final third for North Carolina Courage, Ashley Sanchez was doing a lot of the work on her own, trying to combine with players, but now she has someone who's going to be able to do that. I think Jaden Shaw's game has grown a lot. I think she did great in the She Believes Cup and at the end of the season as well for San Diego Wave. And now she's with the Courage, a very possession-minded team who's able to move up the pitch, who's able to break lines and move forward. And they definitely needed someone like a Jaden Shaw who can score goals, who can combine, who can dribble. I mean, I think she's just been so crafty on the ball, and she's been very impressive to watch, especially at the end of last season. So I'm actually excited, if she stays healthy, to see what she's going to do this season for the North Carolina Courage, because she was the perfect addition for them this season.
Wow, big shoes to fill, big role for Shaw coming into this team and potentially winning an award. I think it could be a repeat of Croy Bethune. We get a full season with her under Jonathan Giraldez. She is itching to get back out there. I'm going to go a repeat for Croy, number 1 and number 2 for the first 2 times the award is ever given out. Coach of the year. Last year, it was given to Seb Hines, and so well deserved, but there's a lot that can be determined about a coach of the year, whether it is their evolution of a team and taking them perhaps from the bottom of the table into the standings, or doing the double like Seb Hines did last year. Darian, which one do you put more stock in, an evolution of a team or how successful they are in terms of wins and silverware they pick up?
It's got to be a mixture of both. I think making playoffs, having a really good run, puts you as a massive contender, and how you're able to really bring the best out of the characteristics of the players that you currently have. How are you developing the game of these standout players and making them have chemistry in a way that's knocking out other teams? And my coach of the year prediction is Jonah Heraldez. And I kind of think it might be one of yours too. Now we have a full year of him with Washington Spirit. I think we're going to see Trinity Rodman, Corey Bethune, all of these superstar players that really thrived last year under Adrian Gonzalez, they have a similar coaching style, really, really develop and play together as a team and improve even more. Like I said earlier, gonna be a formidable team to play against. So I'm going with Jonah Heraldez.
Ditto. I'm also dropping with Jonah Heraldez. This Washington team is the one to beat this year. I mean, the evolution he took this squad through last year has set them up perfectly to be so dominant, be tactically flexible this season. And I want to see what he can do fully with this team and the different players he's brought in. Jess, are you on the Washington Spirit Jonah Heraldez bandwagon? Or are you going somewhere new?
I was going somewhere new. Only because I'm very biased here, and I'm excited to see what this coach is going to do this season. And to be honest, I somewhat agree with you guys, because I think Washington Spirit is definitely going to be one of those teams to beat this season, and to be able to have him throughout the whole season. But I'm going to go with Sean Nahas. I think that the Courage are going to also be a handful this season, and I'm excited to see how that's going to go.
Ooh, very impressive.
Very biased, though.
Coach of the year is an interesting one. It depends. If Fabrice Gatral takes Houston up the standings to the playoffs and everything he's brought in, it doesn't happen that quickly, though. That's my thing. It may. Okay, guys. Those are our positional previews that we're doing. We're going to take a look at some of the more individual awards to come for 2025 and our picks and predictions. Welcome back to Attacking Third. Those on YouTube, you've weighed in, as you should, as you always should. We want to hear from you. You have voted Kaylin Sheridan, Goalkeeper of the Year, Mickey Owen as Defender of the Year, Croy Bethune as Midfielder, and Jonathan Giraldes as Coach of the Year. Well, guys, now you get to do Rookie, MVP, Golden Boot, and an Attacking Third special, Comeback Player of the Year. Now, for Rookies of the Year in the NWSL, it went to Croy Bethune last year. Now there is no draft, which changes things because the worst teams weren't getting arguably some of the best players out of the college game. And when you think about the last several Rookies of the Year in the NWSL, out of the last 4, all 4 of them were top 4 draft picks. Now, back in 2019, it was Bethany Balser who did go undrafted, but she is a bit of an anomaly. It has to be the balance of a good enough player on a good enough team because Ali Sentnor is a tremendous, tremendous talent, but she was on Utah last year where she kind of struggled a little bit. Now, without knowing too many of these rookies, without the draft and without having seen them in actual action, Darian, who's going to be your Rookie of the Year?
I knew you were coming to me first. I am going to give a shout out. It is so difficult without the draft, without really seeing where coaches and teams are wanting to bring these players in and understanding even more of the background behind them. But a player that I actually did follow was Brooklyn Courtnall. I played with her sister at UCLA, and they have such similar qualities. She's super speedy. She plays for the North Carolina Courage as a defender. Incredibly fast. She's electric pace. She's great 1v1 defending. She likes to get high up in the pitch. I see her playing left back. And I have a little reminiscence from Jenna Neiswanger being Rookie of the Year and her ability to swing crosses and to be effective, to score goals. I think Brooklyn Courtnall has those qualities, and I'm really excited to see her develop under Sean Nahas because, Jess, we both know those training sessions, your technical ability improves so much because everything is so specific, so tailored to exactly how he wants to play. And I think that's going to suit her and the evolution of her game incredibly well. So I'm going Brooklyn Courtnall, even though it pains me because she went to USC.
Tell me how you really feel.
Defender. I like that you're picking a defender, frankly.
I had to. Yeah, I had to.
All right,
I think
Jess.
she'll slot in well.
Jess, who you got for Rookie?
I also went with a defender, and I am going to go with Trinity Armstrong from University of North Carolina. She was an absolute stud her last season at the college level. Distribution was amazing. She's very comfortable on the ball. I think that she is going to be such a standout player, and that's if she gets playing time. We don't know how things are going to pan out with these rookies this year, but she's so good in the air, and I'm excited to watch her play, my fellow Tar Heel. So again, I'm also biased on this one again. So yeah, I'm excited to watch Trinity Armstrong at the pro level.
I'm sticking in North Carolina because they have just developed so much talent, and they do a really good job, the Tar Heels, of setting up these college players to succeed so well in the NWSL. And for me, it's going to be Maddie Deline. She went to Seattle this year, and under Laura Harvey, I think there can be a bit of a longer runway for rookies to actually establish themselves in the year at times. But Laura Harvey needs to score goals. She needs to create multiple chances up top. They brought in Lynn Bandolo, and alongside Deline, it's going to be a fun year of hopefully scoring goals, and she's going to impress us there with what this group can do. Okay, let's do MVP. MVP, quick picks for MVP. Let me know who you got, Jess. I'm going to start with you.
Okay, MVP. I have Trinity Rodman. This was so hard. This was so hard, because I can easily name about 10 players with ease who could possibly get MVP this year. I'm going to go with Trinity Rodman. I think coming off of the Olympics last year, just how rapid fire she was. I think she was really, really impressive at the Olympics and obviously for Washington Spirit. But if she's able to stay healthy, then, her consistency is just going to fall into place throughout the season because, as we all see, she's getting better and better and better by the season. And so, yeah, she's my MVP this year. She's my prediction, so we'll see.
I like that. That's a good shout. Lisa, you're going to love mine. Barbara Banda.
Woo!
I do think Pride are going to make it super far, if not win it all. So I'm going Banda.
Darian, it's about time you came to the good side and saw all the good that Barbara Banda brings to the game. And as much as I would like to continue to tote that around with you, I'm going to jump on Jess's boat here. Trinity Rodman is my 2025 MVP early days pick. She is at this point in her career where she is developing so rapidly. She's got the swagger and the confidence to outperform herself. And she's on a team that's also going to set her up for success, while also she's able to set up the people around her for success. And there's enough talent there that she can do it. So I'm sticking with Rodman. I'm with you on this one, Jess. They're going to go far, Washington. And so they've made it into a lot of my predictions because of that. Now, Golden Boot is purely statistical. It has no merit otherwise besides that. It's not about how many you score with your head or your left foot. It's just about how many you get. Darian, could we see a repeat for Temwa Chawinga in this position?
Yes, I do think Temwa Chawinga may even beat her own record, you guys.
I said the same thing.
To me, I don't know how you stop this woman. And seeing her last year, that's how she entered the league. Boom, mic drop. With her developing under Vlatko, developing better relationships with players around her where they can keep pace with her or at least know how to build with her a little bit more. Maybe she racks up more assists, so her goal contributions are higher as in total. But to me, I think she can absolutely do this again.
What Darian said. I literally, that was my email to Mark yesterday. I'm like, Chawinga might beat her own record from last year. I 100% agree, Darian. I think that she was absolutely out of this world when she just jumped into this league last year. It was her first year. It's not like she, dipped her toe in one season, next season, she did better. No, she came in with fire from beginning to the end. She broke the record, for crying out loud. And I think she's right now the only person in the league that has the potential of beating her own record, when it comes to goal scoring. And so when, she was the best player last season, my goodness, let's see what she's going to do this season, because I think she's going to be just as hungry. I don't see her letting off the pedal whatsoever, but I also do want to see some good connection between her and another striker this season. I think she did a lot of work on her own, literally turning something special out of nothing. And that was absolutely amazing to witness as well, just seeing her dribble through multiple people just to get into the final third and then score afterwards, which is so difficult to do. But if she's able to combine and connect with players, much more this season, then yeah, she's definitely going to be beating her own record this year.
Ditto. Temwa Chawinga.
What?
She's unstoppable. She's unstoppable. It doesn't make her an MVP, Darian, but she is unstoppable. She was last year. I'll give it to her. I'm just saying that was my whole trope last year. It doesn't mean you have to be the best goal scorer, but she is truly unstoppable. I'm sticking with Temwa Chawinga as well. Comeback player of the year. The NWSL doesn't honor this one. We do. It's not technically official, but it's an attacking third official. Comeback player of the year. It could be a player coming off an injury. It could also be a player who needs to have a better year for their own personal development, for the team's success. There are a number of different ways I could have gone with this one, but I went south and I put on my cowboy hat and I looked at Houston, a team that needs to take steps forward. And a player who was very quiet last year, Diana Ordonez. She is going to be a comeback player this year. She is set up for success with bringing in Yasmin Ryan, who can whip crosses into the box for her, with Dani Colaprico, who is sitting underneath her to do a little bit more of the defensive work, so Ordonez doesn't have to be pulled back so far. And she's going to get back to scoring ways because she did that at North Carolina in her rookie year. Now she's under Fabrice Gautrat, who is an assistant that rookie year for Ordonez. So he understands how she ticks a little bit more, and she's going to be a contributing factor to Houston's success.
Oh, Lisa, I love that shout. I like the way that you went with that. I do think Houston's going to not shock us, but I think shock the wave system of the NWSL, because we're used to seeing them near the bottom and being a struggling team. And I think that they're going to totally reinvent themselves this year, like we've seen them do in the offseason. I am going with Jess, our former teammate and great friend, Kristen Hamilton. Where has she been?
Yes.
Why has she not played more for Kansas City, only in the Summer Cup? Huh? And she was super effective. Imagine her and Chawinga as the two forwards for Kansas City. Maybe it's just a formation change. Maybe they try some new things. How effective that could be. Kristen Hamilton is a great player to play off of. Her hold-up ability, her finishing ability, the way she gets end line to send in crosses. She gets on the end of crosses. This is a player that I think any team would be lucky to have her. She deserves more playing time with Kansas City, and this is the year to do it. So comeback player of the year, Kristen Hamilton.
Hamilton deserves more.
Pitchside Coffee. They have a coffee company.
Hamilton deserves more playing time. I agree with you. Whose position does she take? Whose starting spot or whose playing spot does she take? Because you've got Bia Zanerato coming back. You have Michelle Cooper, who plays in that front line, getting that national team call-up. She's developed her game. Whose spot does she take?
I think that there has to be just a lot more rotation. I mean, Bia Zanerato was injured for a massive part of their season. Okay, if that's the case, Kristen Hamilton easily slots in there. I think Nichelle Prince, yes, she's great, but that's competitive too with Kristen Hamilton. I put them equal. So whoever's more effective on the pitch, whoever's setting up more assists, who's getting more shots on target, who's getting more goals, let them eat cake. And I think it'll be Kristen Hamilton.
I love that because she really is good at holding up the ball. With her height, it is so impressive. It's a little Crystal Dunn-esque, these short ticky-tacky touches. She's able to turn on a dime. She's always been a very impressive player, but it is disappointing to see her not get nearly as much playing time as she deserves. So, Darian, I do agree with you on that. But who I'm excited to watch play this season is Luana. I think her coming back after recovering from cancer last year, I think that, she's going to have something to prove this season. And I think that Seb Hines is going to have something up his sleeve for her. And the team was able to have that motivation last year to play for her and end up winning the championship for the Orlando Pride. And I think that she's going to mesh well with this team. And I'm excited to see what she's going to be doing on the ball because she's a savvy young woman and so impressive to watch when she's on the pitch. So I'm excited to see her come back.
It'll be fun to watch a lot of people. Yeah, Luana is a good one at Orlando. I hope she gets time. That's the thing, right? The comeback player has to have enough space to actually do that. I think Olivia Moultrie is a good shout. Someone in our YouTube chat also said Alex Huerta, who is now at Utah.
That's a great shout.
Yeah.
She will play. Injury. She will play. It is a great shout. As soon as I read that from Funky in the chat, so thank you. I was like, yeah, Luetta is a great shout. That's a really, really good one. All right, guys, we didn't even get to do our standings yet. We didn't do Shield Winner Championship. The best is yet to come. We'll be right back with more Attacking Third.
Dive into the biggest moments from the big dance with NCAA March Madness Bracket Breakdown, Sunday on CBS Sports Network.
Welcome back to Attacking Third. The end of the season is where it all matters. Who comes in first? Who is above that number 8 playoff spot line, and who drops deep. Now, last year we had Orlando Pride win both the Shield and the championship, and Washington Spirit, they came in second to both of those roles, second in the standings and also second falling just short of winning the championship in the final. So we gave our predictions and our picks for the entire stats. They're going to be out on social, so go check those out. But let's start with the big ones. Let's start with Shield winner and champion, Darian. Who is at the top of the table? Who's making playoffs and who's winning the ship? So Shield and championship.
I am going Kansas City Current to win the Shield. I do think that their goal scoring ability, how they'll build from last year, can get them the Shield this year. Sorry, Orlando. I don't know if you'll repeat that. But I do think the Pride will repeat winning the championship again. I think they're going to run it back. Watching how they played in the Challenge Cup, this is a team that hasn't taken their foot off of the gas pedal, and they've added more and more depth to their team. I'm rocking with the Pride, and not just because I have my old jersey there. I truly believe that they're going to do it.
They're paying her. Just kidding.
I wish.
I love that. I was sweating when I was putting this together. Go ahead, Lisa. Sorry.
No, I want to hear. Who made you sweat, Jess?
Just trying to figure out a team. It's so hard to do predictions, you guys. It gives me anxiety sometimes, and so just trying to put a list together who's going to be winning the Shield and the championship. It's hard. It's hard to do back to back. So I did not give the Shield to Orlando this time around. I give the Shield to Washington Spirit. I think that they're going to have some fire behind them this season, just because they're coming off of the loss in the championship, but they started the year off right, winning the Challenge Cup. And so I'm going to give the Shield to the Spirit, and then surprise champion is going to be the North Carolina Courage, just because, again, I'm biased and I would love to see them get a 3rd star on that jersey.
Whoa. North Carolina
I went there.
Courage. They finished 5th last year.
Yes, they did. They could not stop Chawinga.
The thing with North Carolina is they are always a contender. You can never count them out. They're always going to throw people off, but they don't have a lethal goal scorer that puts them in the position to do that. I mean, I would love it. I love watching North Carolina play. My Shield winner is going to be Kansas City Current. They're going to be at the top. They're going to outscore opponents, point differentiators. They're going to run away in terms of that situation. Washington Spirit is going to win the championship, though. I think that they'll fall probably to 3rd, even 4th in the standings at times, just because of how competitive it is going to continue to be at the top of the standings. But I have Kansas City and then Washington winning. And I agree with you, Jess, on the anxiety factor, because last year when I was looking at that table in comparison to what I wanted to see this year, I actually had like 10 teams below the playoff line. I had more teams that I was like, okay, who is going to impress me and move up? And that was tricky for me. But last year, when you think about the point differentiators, it was the top 4 and then such a big drop off. There was 27 points between the 4th place team, Kansas City Current, and the 9th place team of Racing Louisville. 27 points that those teams had to make up. And I don't think that changes in just one season. So I do think that we'll see Orlando Spirit, Kansas City, Gotham, North Carolina at the top of the table again. But I did have big moves in my changes that we saw, because big changes of teams that dropped very low. And Portland Thorns, I don't know where they're going to score any goals this year. Without Sophia Wilson, without Morgan Weaver, they are going to drop to me out of a playoff position. I currently have them in 11th, and Portland Thorns won't make the playoffs for just the 2nd time ever in club history. That's my biggest drop, D.
Oh, you know what? Same, but I actually have them dropping to 12th. I have them dropping 6 spots to 12th. I agree. I think maybe Raylan Turnan's going to step up and score some goals for them, be an effective goal scoring machine. But is it enough defensively with how much they lost? In the midfield, who's going to step up and really be the playmaker this year? Olivia Moultrie, I want to see it. Jess Fleming, I really want to see it, but I just don't know. It seems like one of those rebuild years for me for Portland. Lisa.
Yeah, nuts. I don't have Portland in the playoff contention this year either. I actually didn't rank them. It's kind of jumbled underneath, ranked number 8. So I think that who I think will make it into the playoffs this year, who I'm excited to see, because they hit kind of a refresh button with some of their roster, and that's, Seattle Reign. I'm excited to watch them this season and seeing how the likes of Lynn Williams is going to, fall into place playing underneath Laura Harvey, because she's such a good coach. And, they still have a lot of their experience from Jess Fishlock and Lou Barnes. So I think that Seattle Reign is going to make it to make it to the playoffs this year.
Ooh.
But Portland, I definitely have them down at the bottom as well.
Seattle finished 13th last year. To
Yes, they
jump
did.
all the way up to playoffs,
Yeah.
that's a big ask. I have Seattle just outside, 9th place, just
Ooh.
outside looking in.
Didn't
So
quite
Dee, we
get
both said Portland as teams dropping. I also have Chicago dropping. I don't
too.
know, in hindsight, I literally don't know how they made the playoffs last year. I'm sorry, Sandra.
By the skin of their teeth. Sorry, Sandra. Sorry, Red Stars.
So sorry, Chicago. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't know either. Unless we have more interviews with Lauren where he gives us a little bit more and we have some insight, they're going to stay low to me. I also had them dropping. But my biggest jump,
Yeah.
at least I think you'll agree with me, I want to say we're on the same wavelength today, is Houston Dash. I have them jumping up 8 spots to 6th right now. I think that they'll be really effective under Gatrot, under Yasmin Ryan, Delaney Sheehan, all of these players that they've acquired, all of this leadership, all of these tactical, technical technicians on their team now. And comeback player of the year, Lisa Carlin, Diana Ordonez. This can be a really effective team that is so much more consistent. And I think that that's what's going to give them the edge over teams that I have beneath them. Maybe they're not going to be the best team that we see that's scoring all these flashy goals, but I do think that they'll have a lot more consistency, and it'll be more of a cohesive Houston team than we have seen in a really long time.
So you took Houston from 14th to, what'd you say, 6th?
6th, up 8.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
I think it'll be a big jump.
Wiggle room too for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Dash in 7th. They're going to make
we've been one off of each other on
know.
each one. I have Seattle in 8th.
Yeah. So Houston is a big jump for me, obviously, just because they were 14th last year. And my other team that is probably my surprise jump is the Utah Royals, because they finished 11th last year, but they had Jimmy Coonratz take over and establish an actual style of how they wanted to play. They didn't need to go get as many game-changing players in this offseason. They brought in Alex Luera. They have Ali Sentnor, and she is going to be set up for success, to score goals, to be dangerous. Paige Monahan can take on more of a leadership role as setting up Sentnor to score these insane goals. So I have Utah as one of my surprise teams to make it into the postseason and get above the playoff line.
I like that.
I like that.
Okay, Utah. All right,
Yeah.
Utah.
I don't know, guys.
You know what?
They
They were a sneaky team last year. There were times where we didn't expect much, and they pulled out a win. They fought back late. They made it really hard for teams to score against them.
Mm-hmm.
And with a full year with Jimmy Coonratz getting more players, they could be a really tough team to beat. I think what's key about both those teams is the consistency. Both of them, I think, are going to be much more consistent, and that's more difficult to me to break down than a team that is going to drop points at some point.
Mm-hmm. And they don't have too much ground to make up, both Houston and Utah, because we saw so many glimpses of it last year. Now they have a full season to kind of run with it. There are a lot of question marks around Angel City. I've dropped them pretty deep. I think San Diego is going to concede a lot of goals. They're going to struggle this year. They're deeper. I still don't have Racing Louisville making the postseason.
Sorry, Jess.
Struggle.
Oh, don't say sorry to me. Neither do I.
sorry, Bev Yanez. We have all of our standings put out there, from Sandra to Christine, Darian, myself, Jess. They're out there. Go see them on social media. Sandra has written up a lot about the 2025 season in the NWSL. Go check it out and hear about it. And these are our picks. Let us know how right we are throughout the season, how wrong we are. Anyone we might have missed that we should have given some love to, whether it's a team or a player, and let us know, because the season is around the corner. And this was a bit anxiety inducing, Jess. I promise it gets more fun as the season goes on, when we're done with all these crazy picks and predictions. But this was fun. I enjoyed doing this with you guys. I was a little, nervous about this. It's hard to pick all these.
It's difficult. And what's even more difficult is the freaking names. Mark just put in our chat $1 in the Red Stars jar for Darian. We need to have something like a mixing up last name jar, something like that. Wrong team name, wrong colors, something like that. I'll start it first.
Games
I'm losing
start today. Friday, guys. We'll see how how many players actually changed their jerseys with the name on the back, the stars, not the red stars for Chicago. So much fun in the NWSL, and it is right around the corner. Now, usually this is when we say goodbye, but today we're giving you a little attacking third extra time, some overtime, some added time. We love it. And this one is extra special because LaBonta joins us to chat about some big teams this year in the NWSL and her perspective on it. So show's not done yet, folks. More to come. Don't go anywhere. Okay, so we're bolstering our roster here at A3. Of course, we've got Christine Cupo, but we've got LaBonta hanging with us, friend of the show. I mean, Bud, we haven't seen you since the NWSL final. Have you been busy?
Oh,
You haven't
oh
been
my
busy.
God. Honestly, I was doing so well till you brought up the final. Hold on. I wasn't ready for that. Oh my gosh. The final was great, obviously, but I just forgot that I wasn't actually playing in it. But thank you for the reminder.
I know. I'm really sorry about that. We're not here to bring up old stuff, but
Although
starting
there
off
was a whole lot of teal in that stadium. I'm just saying.
Right? It was great. Like we just did a launch the other day with our president of our team, and she was talking about being at the final, and a lot of the Kansas City fans were like, obviously we wanted our team in it, but we're still gonna show out for this sport, this league. So I was like, I love that. But can we just host again, please, so we can potentially be there?
well, it's not announced yet where it is in 2025. So
Bro, we just got our schedule too, probably. So that will probably come July, August. I don't know.
but the potential's still out there for KC to host again. Probably not this year, but I wouldn't put it past them in the next year or two. You guys
Surely.
could see it come back. So you had a little bit of an off season. I hope you had
A
time to
little, yeah.
stop running every day, sit in the sun, relax, not think about football, or maybe watch it for fun, play a little for fun.
Yeah, I am going into my 11th season, which is wild. But for my off season, I tend to not do anything. I go to a beach, I go scuba diving, anything other than soccer. Actually, I just realized my husband and I like juggle on the sand, like on the beach. So it doesn't count. That's like a size 4 ball. But yeah, full reset physically, mentally. That's why I'm so excited for this upcoming season.
Oof, as are we. We already got a little bit of a taste. We did a little bit because we had the NWSL Challenge Cup, in which instead of it being the Shield winner against the final, it ended up being Orlando against Washington, a rematch of the 2024 final. Ultimately, Washington won 4-2 on penalties. Chris, you and I, we did a recap show. We basically broke down everything about it. And Christine, we got to see a little bit of what we expect from Washington and Orlando in this season to come.
For sure. I think if anything, we saw a little bit of a glimmer of depth from Washington that I don't know that I expected to see quite yet, especially preseason Challenge Cup ball with so many of their starters just unavailable to put up such a fight against Orlando with them remaining largely unchanged. Again, we saw some returns from injury, Rafaele. We saw some debuts with Rebecca Bernal, which was exciting, but I don't know. It was very NWSL for a Challenge Cup because, of course, it could have gone either way.
In some of those debuts, one of them being Rebecca Bernal for Washington Spirit. She plays as a center back. We talked about maybe seeing her a little higher up the pitch, but we also got to see Narumi, her first time in a Washington kit, playing in the midfield with the Spirit. And Lo, you know her very well from playing against her at North Carolina. And now to see her at a Washington team under a Spanish coach with a Japanese style of tiki-taka that Narumi plays, this is going to change her game. This is going to change how Washington plays as well, right?
10,000%. I think two of the best signings that the Spirit could have made in the offseason, especially with Narumi in there. When she was at North Carolina, they're constantly pressing. They're going hard. Here, I think it will free her up a little to get more on the ball, go forward. I'm kind of scared since I'm going to have to defend it, and she's going to be partnering up with Croy Bethune later, hoping she gets back on the field. Like I told Croy this. I was like, bro, I was your biggest fan last year. I wasn't going to say it throughout the year because you didn't need any motivation, but bro, you're so good and you're so deadly in there. So her pairing up with Narumi and then Bernal coming in the midfield, they signed experience for this reason. And I believe that's why they were able to get it through the line and win that Challenge Cup game.
Oh,
Yeah,
Narumi
I was
being-
really excited about Bernal in particular, and I was sort of advocating to see her, not necessarily because I don't know that I see her as maybe getting the start as a center back, but I feel like maybe if you slot her up into an 8 or a 6, she could really wreck some teams.
And if you put Bernal in the 6, Narumi can go higher. And that's
Which
just
is where she's
100%.
better.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are talking all the right tactics right now, but that is what coaches say, right, is the best problem to have as a head coach. You know, she could be at the center back. She can come in the midfield and get these other players to capitalize on their true strengths. And I'm so glad you guys are bringing up because I'm going to bring this to my team scout because we actually play them in a couple weeks. But, you know, like that's such a good problem to have. And that's what I love is when teams have depth. We have so many games throughout the year that seeing these players out there, the rotations are just going to make the game so much more exciting.
Low using attacking third episodes as like scouting.
Heck, I'm going to use low as a springboard for myself. No cap. Okay. Like for real. So one of the things that we talked about when we did the full unpacking of the Challenge Cup that it resonated with me is what we're seeing is this trend toward these hyper versatile players now, especially in NWSL. As a vet of the game now, your 11th season, obviously ball evolves. What do you make of sort of these like hyper versatile where you have a player that's both left back, right wing, changing tactically mid game? Do you think that that's just the way that NWSL are moving as this super athletic league right now? Or is this something that's going to be a mainstay?
I want to say you're always going to have a variety of players. You're going to have players that are very good at one thing and no one is better at that one thing than them. So you're going to need to have that player be that. When you have these versatile players, I think it creates this unpredictability when you come to play them because, you know, like you said, you can be in the midfield, you can be at the left back. I'm not that player, but I've had to be versatile, you know, in the midfield. I've played the 10, the 6, the 8. I can tell you which one I prefer to play, but there's something that my coach wants me to play and I'm willing to play that role. And that's something I think teams and players in this league have embraced because they want to be on the field because these games are crazy. You never know what you're going to get in a game. You think you know what you're going to get, but it's the NWSL and you don't know until you see it.
You could say that about any league, though, I think to some extent, right? Players want to play, or any industry, even like you want to work, you want to play, you want to be on the pitch. So if playing a certain role or fitting into a little bit of a positional box at times to get on the pitch is what it takes. We see players doing that. And that's why it's funny you say, Lo, like I can tell you where I prefer to play. That's a theme, right? You think of Crystal Dunn with the U.S. women's national team. Like she was and is the starting left back. But if you ask her, I mean, now at PSG, she's going to play a little bit higher. She wants to play higher, but she's not going to say to a U.S. head coach, no, I don't want to play in the left back. I would rather play higher up the pitch. It's all about fitting into that hole in that mold, which probably is frustrating at times. If you're trying to be one player and you think you're succeeding in one position, but you're then being forced to be in a different role. But that is across the NWSL what we're seeing, different players really slotting into different roles. And when you can't expect it as opposition, it's hard to go against them. But even as a coach, you could look at one player and think one thing, but try them out in training and something different. Like Bay FC, they're having Joelle Anderson, who has been a midfielder for a lot of her career, playing as one of the 3 center backs at times for Bay FC in some of their preseason matches. It's a lot of interchange across the league and everywhere with players. It can be a pro, can be a con, I think, to some of their development at times.
Yeah, I can only say, you know, it's it's the top level. Again, you're gonna want to be on that field. I could see how it's frustrating probably all of preseason. You train one position, someone gets hurt, and then you have to fill that role. You see that a lot happening, but you also will see movements of players. We were just having a tactical talk, what ifs, and a lot of the times you want players who are very good on the ball as your center back because they're the ones that start the attack. So I'm also thinking of Emily Sands, for example. She's a center back, but at the start of this game, she was an outside back. So you want to be on the field and you're going to adjust to the tactical decision wherever the coach wants you. And when you get asked about it in media, my only recommendation is that's a coach's question. He's the one that makes that at the end of the day. There you go. Talk to him.
Maybe we'll start on your on low, like a little segment of like how players can talk to media and answer questions they don't want to.
I don't know if I'm your best bet, but I'll tell you what I would do. What would Lo do?
Listen, I
Honestly,
feel like you are our best bet, or at least the most
Smart.
fun bet, okay?
yes, fun. Smart, I don't know. Fun, yes.
WWLD, what would Lo do? What would
And then
Lo
do the opposite.
With this Challenge Cup, it was the first game of the season. Now there's a 1 week break and then we get the regular season. And I mean, the teams are essentially still in preseason. It's almost a competitive trophy on the line warm up, but it's also the fifth iteration low that we have seen of this Challenge Cup. Now, I'm sure you could pick your favorite of all of them, from the bubble to playing it Shield versus champion, playing it in the final rematch, but the timeline isn't ideal for players by any means.
Absolutely not. I can tell you because obviously the game was later. So in our team group chat, we were like, oh my God, can you imagine being out there right now playing this competitive game? We had practice that day, and then the next day we actually had an inter squad scrimmage, but that's still different than being out there competing against another NWSL team. Preseason was a little longer this year. I think you could see the effects of it already with Spirit, with so many of their players that were out. They had to sign a bunch of replacement players, but I don't know. I know physically I would not be ready for that game. I must get ready because, at the end of the week, I have the first game of this season. But, it just shows power to that team. I think that theme from Friday night, the Challenge Cup game, is kind of going to be what you see in this upcoming weekend of games. But I just hope, everybody is healthy. In the soccer coaching world, it's called periodization. And I hope they figure that out. The whole league, you never want people out. I hope people stay healthy because at the end of the day, that's what brings us the great games.
We do get the kickoff of the season, and those great games are bound to happen immediately. I mean, even Kansas City, Portland, if it's anything like the 2024 game between these guys, like, can we expect 9 games? Like, let's go.
Oh my goodness. I was just thinking about that game because who messaged me was Kelly Hubley. Obviously, she was on Portland and on BFC now, but our team posted like 5 more days to the game, something like that. And Kelly is on the ground after someone had just scored on her. And I was like, bro, what were you doing down there? She goes, I don't know. I blacked out that game. And I go, yeah, man, there was no defense that game. 9 goals. Wild.
So, Christine, you have Casey scoring a lot of goals again this year, being top of the standings, would you say?
Like, you would have to be an absolute idiot to think that there would not be an immense amount of goals. The number of goal scoring possibilities and goal scorers even last season, that's not going to change. It's only going to get crazier, in my opinion. So yeah, right now they're sitting, obviously way too early predictions, in the top 3 again this season for me.
You like that,
Love
Lo?
that. I love that. But I also love when you're like, Casey's scoring a lot. I'm just going to put out there Temwa Chawinga scoring a lot. Like, let's be honest.
Okay, so how yes, Temwa Chawinga is scoring a lot. This offseason, we got the news that Temwa Chawinga had signed a contract extension through 2028. How much did the team celebrate after that happened?
Honestly, we knew, she needed to stick around. We were finally grateful when, front office made that sign and we're like, let's go. They know, like, give her money. She deserves it all. MVP in her first season here. Let's run it back. Golden boot again. She's a special human being. And I think when a team rallies around a person like that, they're special. Everybody wants her back here. The city wants her back here. Probably NWSL wants her here always. So I'm beyond grateful for that. I'm coming up on contract, so I'm hoping I'm going to check out her contract, take a couple notes from that.
Like, I'll take paragraph 3 through 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Kansas City this year, they're going to be at the top of the table running through it. But it's this opening weekend, we get to see a little bit of rivalry action with Angel City, San Diego. We get to see the two expansion sides, Bay and Utah, go at each other. And I'm curious, is there a KC rival? People are trying to make the water debate happen between San Diego Wave and the Current. There's the barbecue happening, right, with Kentucky, with Texas, with Kansas City. You're shaking your head low. Is there a Kansas City rival in the NWSL so far?
I think it's so funny when, marketing tries to force a rivalry and make that happen. I can tell you who I think our rivals are, and it's usually the teams in the Midwest. I think for us, now that we have some structure to our scheduling where it's a home and away game, back in the day, it used to be you play one team once, but you play another team 6 times. So like those would be your rivals because you're constantly seeing that team. So I would say usually it tends to be Chicago and Houston, maybe even Louisville a little. But for me, a rivalry is when, some people win, or you win sometimes, you lose sometimes against that same team. So I would say it's those. But yeah, I don't know how we got a water rivalry with San Diego. Like, I don't know. Some of these don't make sense to me.
It sounds kind of lame. I'm not going to lie. You're like, ooh, the water rivalry. We're going to get you. Like, what?
I'm like, bro, I'll take the Pacific Ocean any day.
You're like, I'm with y'all. I don't understand what the issue is.
Yeah.
This is the one-sided beef. I do have to ask, because you did bring up Temwa. Have you coached her on future celebrations this season? Because she's so humble, but when she celebrates, I get so excited.
Right? I'm like, bro, this is your 97th goal. Can you please celebrate it finally? No, but I would say I've tried to get a few out of her. We had to shoot a couple promo videos this preseason, and I got her to dance with me a little, which is so exciting. But I do think her one of our teammates, her best friend on the team, Jericho, they've been doing these dances and TikToks, and I'm like, you guys, I better see that out on the field. So if she does something, it's usually probably coming from Jericho.
Oh, so that's
Sorry, let me go get on my
info.
TikTok and find them. I
You'll
obviously
find-
have
oh
been
my gosh. Yeah. No, they're great. I see them like doing these dances. I was like, oh, I wish I had that much swag. But as long as they're dancing and celebrating, I'm a fan.
No,
Well,
you
you're pretty
do. Are you
swaggy.
kidding?
Oh, thank you. But I'm not MVP swaggy. So it's
Listen,
You are
something to
Sally
strive
Queen
for,
swaggy.
okay?
You are Sally Queen swaggy
oh,
though.
thank you. Thank you.
Lo, this is sick. This is awesome. We'll see you again. You'll be on A3 all the time, right?
Oh yeah. If I make the cut after today.
You're
We'll
in as far
see.
as I'm concerned. Whoever I have to strong arm, don't worry.
Yeah. I would love to I know you would have my back. So I feel good about that one. And
Yes.
Lisa too. You always text me. So I love working with you too.
Christine's a bulldog. She'll fight for you when she
let's
needs
go.
to. It's the best. Lo, good
true.
luck with NWSL this weekend. We're watching. We're cheering for you. But guys, don't go anywhere. We got more Attacking Third coming up next.
Sail GP lands in California. The Port of LA welcomes the 12 world-class teams to the epicenter of glitz, glamour, and Hollywood.
I loved that. Lo didn't give herself enough credit. She is a really good dancer. I've made TikToks with Lo. She knows a trend or two. She wasn't giving herself enough credit, but that's so good. I can't wait to have her more a part of the team and just have her more incorporated. I love her insight. She's so fun. Let's bring some energy. I love it.
Some energy and giving us the player's perspective throughout the season. She'll be here. She'll be hanging in and out of Attacking Third because our shows are all over the place. We've got Tuesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern right here on YouTube. And then we kick off our first ever A3 After Dark of the season, Sunday night, 8 p.m., following the first weekend, the first match day of 2025 NWSL regular season. We gave you our picks, our predictions today, and we start keeping receipts come Friday night. But before that, we'll be back with Attacking Third on Thursday to preview the weekend ahead. We'll see you guys there, Thursday, 11 a.m. right here on YouTube, and listen anywhere you get your podcasts. For Mark, Jess, Darian, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.